Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy?
Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and so much more. I'm Brian. It's a standoff. Who's going next?
Chad.
Oh, good grief. And brace yourselves, because we're already off the rails.
That was awesome.
And it's about to get nerdy.
I love it.
So, all right, guys,
great.
this week, we're having a little special, aren't we? Specialer than
Special.
Chad, even.
Very special.
And
Yes,
before
I'm
we
excited.
jump into that, before we
very
jump into your
special.
comments, before we
Very
bring in our
special.
amazing guests, I'm going to need both of you guys to shut your mouth. And really quick, we're going to give a huge shout out to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network for hosting us. There's the Vanna White Chad hands, super creepy. And guys, we have entertainment every single day of the week, Sunday through Saturday, all day, every day. Every show is amazing. We have shows about drinking. We have shows about comics. We have shows about being a creative. We have shows that will inspire you to get out and do something creative with your life. So tune into the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Tonight, I believe, are the last show. And then tomorrow morning, we are starting the day off right with the Brian K. Morris on another episode of Nevermind the Furthermore. But now we are going to bring out some fantastic fellows. Now, everybody, if I look familiar, you probably, if you haven't seen this show, you've seen me also on Comic Book Spectrum. Well, you're in for a treat because they happen to be here. And that's everybody, even the substitute teacher, Joe D. McPhee. And what do you guys say we start bringing them out, huh?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right. There's Joe. What's up, man? Hey,
Hello,
I'm going to give you a
Joe.
full screen really quick. Tell us who you are and unmute yourself. See, I'll unmute you. There you go.
Well, hello
There
there.
you go. Tell us who you are and where we can find you.
Okay. I'm part of the trifecta of what's going to happen tonight here. I am Joe D. McPhee. I am president of a CGC studio, currently the creator of Amazonia, AWF, and Primetime Saturday Night. And I also have my own broadcast from the Desolate Small Press Publisher, which happens right here on the Rising Tide Network every Saturday at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. However, I am the designated backup quarterback for yours Comic Book Spectrum every Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern.
Excellent. I like the backup quarterback analogy a lot more than my substitute teacher. That's a lot cooler. And next, we have the amazing, the wonderful Clyde Hall. Clyde, I'm going to give you full screen here. Tell us who you are and why you're so wonderful.
In the football parlance that Joe has begun, I am the utility outfielder for Comic Book Spectrum. I'm not a real sports guy, so I think we may have lost something in the translation there. But I am an independent author and a comic book reviewer, and I have a series of short stories with the character of B-Man appearing in pulp reality from Stormgate Press. As you can see, our first issue won an award. Our second issue is out. They are both available at www.stormgatepress.com. If you like horror or new pulp type of adventures, there are all sorts of things besides pulp reality available at that website. You can also find Pulp Reality 1 and Pulp Reality 2 on Amazon. Right now, I've been planning for writing life beyond pulp reality and other things. Still under the auspices of Stormgate Press, there's several projects coming up there. But every Thursday, you can find me at the Rising Tide Broadcast Network for our Comic Book Spectrum show, where we do a weekly set of views and reviews and all kinds of news for those people that like comic books.
I love that rhymed. And next up, we have the one, the only, the Eric S. Hawkins. Hello, sir. Tell us who you are and why you're so wonderful.
Well, I was going to stay, but I specifically said only brown M&Ms in the green room for me. I saw red and green, so I'm leaving.
Look, it's Chad's fault. It was his,
he screwed it up.
responsibility to put out the right
Chad.
color M&Ms. Chad, you're fired.
Well,
Thank
I am
you.
Eric S. Hawkins, independent comic creator, best known for the zombie-full world of Oz. And I'm also the second youngest on Comic Book Spectrum on Thursday nights on the Rising Tide Network.
That is a
Very accurate.
very prestigious title right there. The second youngest, and our elder, our fearless leader himself, the Brian K. Morris. How are you, sir? Tell us who you are and why you're so wonderful.
Well, I may have to lie for that second part, but anyway, my wife calls me a professional liar. How is that? Because I write novels. Anyway, so I publish my own. I'm also published by other people, available on Amazon, #always promote. And also I am an editor. For instance, I've just finished editing Glenn B. Fleming's terrific book on his visit to Jack Kirby. Have comic scripts going out right now. And I'm also a broadcaster. I do Never Mind the Furthermore 3 mornings a week. And also every morning, because something's wrong with me, I do BK Minutes, where I give you advice on how to up your creative game. And if that weren't enough, I am, let's see, with the sports analogy, I'm the bat boy for Comic Book Spectrum. I'm basically the guy behind the backstop who, when the pitch comes in too fast across the plate, everyone dives out of the way, and I take it in the gut. Anyway, that's the highlight of my week, and unfortunately, it's a highlight of a lot of people's week, and it's mostly because of the great people I get to hang out with. And I can be found at risingtide.pub, where you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter and all kinds of news, all kinds of things happening. I'm also part of because I was asked to say this, I'm also part of the Kickstarter campaign going on right now for Memoirs of the Morbid, Grant Lankard's brand new book. And tune in tomorrow to Nevermind Furthermore. There's a special offer involved with that. So I think I'm done.
All right. Well,
good night.
Thank you guys for being here. How cool is this?
Thanks for having us.
Both worlds
very much.
have collided, and this is great. I mean, with other than Chad, this is going to be a wonderful experience. So actually, and you know what? I will say this because I'm feeling charitable. Chad, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and where they can find you?
I got a
No,
chance.
I'm just kidding. I don't want to know.
I hate you.
Jeremy, tell us who you are and where we can find you.
My name's Jeremy Woodring. You can find me in my basement of my house most of the time. That's where I do most of my work. I work with indie comic book creators to help them create videos for their marketing campaigns, for Kickstarter campaigns, figuring out a good way to get their information out there for people to see and engage with new readers. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and Jeremy, actually, his work can be found on the Memoirs of an Angel issue 8 Kickstarter. He did the video for that, and he did the video for
Grim 101.
For Grim 101, yeah.
Book 2.
So,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. Both videos were excellent. And all right,
I like that story a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I have the hardback over there waiting to be read.
Yeah.
So
cool.
All right, you know what, Chad? Go ahead. Whatever.
Too late, man.
Oh,
too late.
Yeah.
Yeah,
too late?
you lost your chance. I've already told all my fans that I'm on here. They already know. They already know who I am.
They're all here. Hey, I'm Brian Rodman, and I am the author and illustrator of the horror fantasy comic book series Memoirs of an Angel. Issue 8 is running right now on Kickstarter for 4 more days. It's over on Halloween at noon. So if you want to join the party, which why would you not, right? It's like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. Head on over to this address right here, and you too can be a part of the world of Memoirs of an Angel. We do have beanies on sale. We also have a toy tier by O Toys. Damian Waldron does a fantastic job. And other than that, you can see me every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with these amazing fellows below me on Comic Book Spectrum. And guys, tonight, before we jump into our favorite back issues / trades, what do you say we say hi to some people in the comment section, because a lot of people have been talking.
Hi, comments.
Fresh out the game. We got Cindy. Cindy kept waves at us all.
CKOEPP.com. Sign up for a newsletter.
Animal Eye, amazing comic, amazing novel. Sarah, good evening. Everybody saying hello to each other. Donna, how you doing? Saying hey, Donna. Hi, guys. Everyone's saying hello. And Ted is screaming at Jeremy. Just screaming at you.
Hello, Ted.
Yes. Ted says good evening now to all of us, because we are less important than Jeremy.
Mostly me.
Exactly. Oh, man.
And Hope Wave. That's very nice.
And Sarah loves your chair, Joe.
What? Really?
She loves your chair, apparently. Yeah, man. There you go.
Got a nice chair there, Joe.
Yeah. And then Ted says some very profound things. Sarah, just a statement. We don't know if he's happy or sad. We don't know. Rick Bradley is alive, tired from being up all night with Raziel. At least he's cute and lovable. Absolutely. That is true. And Eric! Everyone is screaming your name, sir. Eric. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there was a lag going, and Rick said that BKM, right when you came on, Brian, it was just too much awesomeness, and it was an awesome overload for YouTube, apparently.
Oh, do I need to start all over again? Hi, I'm
why
Brian
don't you go ahead
Morris.
and get up?
Yeah, I'll just the show, no problem.
And Donna says, "Where's Luna?" Luna, she's behind me. She's loafing on the chair, as you can see, waiting to strike. Actually, she's waiting to get my ice water. We've been battling all evening because she really wants to just drink out of this. I let her, though, that's why. Let's see. Power Man 5000's World Collide is now going through my head.
Oh, man. That's a throwback.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Jeez.
It's like when worlds collide.
Oh, here we go. BKM.
Hey, Dad.
Clyde. Joe. Chad, we don't care about that part. And Cindy Cup says, "Hey, how are you guys? We're wonderful, Cindy. We are glad that you're here." Oh, yeah, okay. I see how it is, Ted. Yeah. Oh, hi, Rodman. Yeah, whatever.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, hey, Donna blew kisses at you. Do you care? No, because you hate everyone, don't you?
Don't
Except
touch
for Daddy.
It would have been messed up if she would have bit the finger.
She doesn't bite me. She actually, I will say this, as much as I joke about her being, angry all the time, other than trying to murder Beasley, she's an absolute sweetie. To me, she's mean to everyone else, and I like that. And Carl says, Marcia. Oh, man. Oh, so I am excited. Oh no. Oh, here we go again.
No.
Oh no. Brian Rabbit needs all the tacos. If you guys watched last week's Comic Book Spectrum, I apologize for what happened, starting with this awful drawing of me as Jessica Rabbit. But if you go to Uncle Carl's secret humor page, you will be your eyes will melt and go back in your head. What is this?
This is our NFT, remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Hey, as long as I extend my hand and get a check, I don't really care.
Yeah, don't you recognize Brian?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
just
mean.
Brian, my
looks
eyes
more
are
like
up here,
April
Rodman.
O'Neil.
Screen because
Yeah, I know,
my
right?
eyes are bad.
I'm a bearded April O'Neil, apparently.
Sorry, I didn't mean to react like that.
Oh man. Okay,
You can
so
be whatever you want to be.
tonight, you know what? I can and I will be, and you can't say otherwise. So tonight we are going to talk about our favorite back issues to celebrate being together as one big happy family as the Dastardly Spectrum begins. So what do you guys think? You think
Dingoes.
you think that the new guys should jump in there first, or do you guys want to show them how it's done? What do you think?
Well, who is considered new?
Well,
that's the real question.
Chad and Jeremy, other than being a wonderfully talented musical duo, haven't been reviewing comics like we have. So
I mean, I haven't even been reading.
Yeah,
comics
Jeremy's illiterate. So this would be
comics?
fun.
Yeah,
I got my back issues of Playboy.
I just looked.
I got a problem with that. Why is he here? It's like, does he understand what a back issue is?
No, I had to ask that.
I did have to explain it to him. That is true.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to let you down, but
I'm
a noob when it comes to comics.
It's okay. You're welcome here, and that's what maybe after this show you'll learn to read, and hopefully we can help you do that. So you know what? Why don't Brian? Do you mind starting us off, sir?
Not at all.
All right, I'm going to give you full screen, and show us the way.
Hi, everyone. But no, I'm excited because I was down in the comic vault this afternoon, and I could fill the whole show with back issues that bring me joy even to this day. I've got quite a few that also, if they aren't illegal already, should be. But anyway, I have a fondness for like the collected editions. And I meant to grab one before I got here. It was like the collected most of the collected works of Chris Claremont, and it's about the size and weight of an engine block. It used to be on the top floor of the house. Now it's in the basement. It just went straight through the floor. It is that heavy. But anyway, I was thinking about the comics that I really like. And I found 3 collections of books that really speak to me. And part of it is all about diversity it's not just regular superheroes. Although my first pick is going to make you say, what's he talking about? There was a series in the 60s called Thunder Agents, the Higher United Nations Defense Enforcement Reserves. They were a secret agency that worked for the United Nations. And what I loved about them was the fact that in one story it'd be a serious superhero tale. The next one would be like a Cold War adventure. And then the next story would be like something like a comedy. And it had a number of great artists like Wally Wood, Dan Atkins, Steve Ditko, writers like Steve Skates and Larry Ivy and Jerry Siegel, among others. Mike Sikowski drew a number of stories for him, but all of the agents had like some sort of limitation. Like Dynamo in the center there only had his powers for 30 minutes through the Thunder Belt. This character here is No Man. He was immortal, but he could transfer his mind from one android body to another, rendering him immortal. We had Menthor, who the original incarnation was a criminal that had infiltrated Thunder, but the helmet that he wore, the Menthor helmet, turned him good. And he's one of the very first deaths that ever happened in comics in my lifetime. Still, the story still affects me to this day. But it was fun, it was suspenseful, and DC released a set of 7 books with the complete set of the authorized Thunder Agents. It's worth getting. There's a lot of great art, a lot of great stories in there. I fought against buying it when I was 10 because I thought super-powered super agents is an idiotic idea. And then my mother, for my birthday, said, well, just get it, will you? I'll pay the quarter for the comic because it came in a giant-sized comic, about 80 pages of story and art. And said, just take it home and read it. I'll pay for it. You've been staring at that thing for 3 weeks now. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take. And then I fell in love with it, and it was great. I'm gonna go. I'll do my best one last. I also like odd books, like this one here, the Marvel Masterworks with the Black Knight and Yellow Claw, with one of my favorite artists who unfortunately was taken from us far too soon, and it was a gentleman named Joe Maneely, who had a wonderful graphic style. And I use him as an example of, for inkers in terms of how much detail to give foreground characters versus background and such. And stories by Stan Lee, among others. There's also reprints of a very old John Romita Sr. stories in here. And the backup is Yellow Claw, who is far from PC these days. Especially when you look at how everyone was shaded back in those days. Just one step above the Yellow Peril type coloring. But the first issue was written by Al Feldstein, who went on to edit a magazine called Mad Magazine for decades. And this was kind of his magnum opus. And then he was replaced on story and art by a gentleman named Jack Kirby, who brought his magic to this character and his wild imagination. And then the last issue, Kirby inked himself for the most part. But then the last issue, he was inked by the great John Severin, who really gave some real texture to his work. But it's gems like this, Arthurian stories mixed with 50s Cold War espionage, this side of Sax Romer. This is the stuff that makes me happy. Now, if I had one book, though, that was my Desert Island book, this again will be the Archive. But this, Archie Goodwin, one of the greatest writers in comics, says, the Spirit has to be a virtual encyclopedia, if not a Bible, on how to do comics.
Yes.
Started in 1940 by Will Eisner. It's a story of a young detective named Denny Colt who uncovers a plot to poison the city. He foils it, but at the cost of his own life. However, he's exposed to the poison, which renders him virtually immortal and difficult to harm. And that's as close to a superhero as you're going to get in this whole series. But the thing is, Eisner had a slew of assistants, such as Jack Cole, who created Plastic Man, Jules Pfeiffer, who went on to become a cartoonist of his own right, and screenwriter. Tex Blaisdell, John Belfi, Jerry Grandinetti, Lou Fine, who drew, I believe it was Flash Gordon for many, many years. Jack Keller, who drew Kid Cold Outlaw. Joe Kubert. This was his first job in comics. Ben Oda, great letterer. Bob Powell, Don Perlin, Sam Rosen. Sam Schwartz, who went on to work for Archie and helped create Thunder Agents, Wally Wood, and Bill Woolfolk, who went into writing for television. But anyway, these are incredible stories, and they're stories about human beings, not just two-fisted crime tales, of which there were plenty. But like Thunder Agents, this can have comedy. It can have pathos. I mean, I read a Harvey reprint of The Spirit back in 1966, and I almost cried at reading the story of Gerard McSnobble, a man who discovered he could fly. And you meet some femme fatales. There's intrigue. There's continued stories. There is just like everything you could want from good storytelling, especially through the eyes of the master, Will Eisner. And there's some stuff that, there's some stuff that's a little regrettable now in terms of how certain minorities are treated, but it's a fantastic book. And one thing I will say about all of these is that I did my research today. I went to eBay. Now, most of these books cost in the neighborhood of $50 a piece, and you're saying, well, do I want to spend $350 for Thunder Agents or $50 times 26 for the complete Spirit. And we're talking all the Spirit sections, all the comic covers, all the special stuff in 26 books. And the answer is you don't have to. Many of the books on eBay are probably still in the wrapper, and they're available for a fraction of the price. Just bid on these things and check out any one of them. I think you are going to be quite amazed. But anyway, that's my review. Definitely leading up to the Spirit, one of the greatest comic book series ever.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the Spirit. Yes. Well done, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Well done.
Thank you.
Now, Brian, how did you feel about the Spirit movie?
Which one?
Well, Frank Miller's. Yeah. Was there another one? Wait.
Yes.
I didn't know about this one.
Yes.
Oh, you
Clyde
gotta
knows.
watch it. Yep.
Yes. Well, we'll start with the Frank Miller. Here's my imitation of Will Eisner, having seen it in the afterlife. Anyway, he's if you watch the movie and treat it like a parody of good action films, it's palatable. If you watch it as an homage to one of Frank Miller's greatest influences, I believe the American Sign Language thing is you'll lose your lunch. It's hideous.
I never understood how, like, I mean, he was Will Eisner's like apprentice for a long time. They worked together. They were very good friends.
Right.
And I read somewhere that Frank Miller did say that his goal was it was satire, and that Will Eisner would have appreciated that because he did not think that comics and movies had a good relationship. So Frank Miller did that kind of on purpose, which is weird.
Died,
right. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a cop out, but
yeah, I wanted it to suck.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but like,
and you,
I feel like Samuel L. Jackson shines in that movie for me though, because he's hilarious in the entire movie. He's so funny.
He really is. And the thing is, I don't see that movie so much as satire as camp. I think it's closer to the 1966 Batman without any of the warmth. The casting, I have to say, was flawless.
Yeah.
Everybody was perfectly cast, but I'm not saying that the movie had to be treated with a whole lot of gravitas, but I think it totally failed to capture the spirit, if you will, of the Spirit. Yeah. In that, there should have been some warm moments. There should have been some funny moments. It should have been just like intermixed. And I was, just very, very disappointed with it. I've only seen it once. I have no desire to put it in my film library. Now, as for your other question, yes, in the, I want to say the late 80s. I could be wrong, but anyway, there was a TV movie made with Sam Jones of Flash Gordon fame. And as Denny Colt, and Nana Visitor of Star Trek Deep Space Nine as Ellen. And it was very respectful. He looked the part. Sam Jones looked the part. And it had a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. There was plenty of action. Sexy girls like what Will Eisner was famous for, like Silk Satin and Pijel and all, and Ellen. And Gary Wahlberg, who played the chief coroner on Quincy, M.E., back in the 70s, played Commissioner Dolan to perfection. It was a very reverent look at Will Eisner's creation. Oh, Joe, please. Some people are eating right now. Okay?
I mean, even though it's bad, it's like the only thing that I had that was close enough to the comic. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it's the only thing that I had close enough to the comic that I knew about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could find the TV Spirit probably in bootleg. Not that we endorse that sort of thing here on the Dastardly Dingoes. But you should be able to find it maybe on YouTube.
Don't worry, Brian. There be pirates here. No, I would say this. I remember the trailer when it came out because I had read the Spirit comics. I love Will Eisner's work. When the movie came out, it was after 300 and Sin City,
right?
And I was very excited because I was like, oh my gosh, the Spirit in the style of Sin City is gonna look amazing. And then it was all one big joke, and I was upset. And then I saw it a second time just for the laughs. But yeah, I remember my initial viewing of that movie. I was like, no, you had like such the style down pat with Sin City's movie, and if you just took it seriously, it would have been brilliant.
Exactly. That's how I felt about it too. I cannot imagine. I know that Will Eisner said he was quite disappointed with the TV movie for whatever reasons, but I think he would have been absolutely horrified if he had seen the theatrical version of it.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I know Frank Miller knew him pretty well. Maybe he would have, maybe it would have been a sick, twisted sense of humor type laugh at it. Who knows? But I agree with you. As a creator, I would never want my work to look like that on screen. So let's jump back into the comments for a minute. Sarah brings up a very good point. She said, I wish I was there. She said, I wish there was a video of Woodring running into a wall while playing a virtual reality game. For those of you who don't know that story, Jeremy, you want to tell it really quick?
Yeah, of course. My wife set this up for my birthday. Me and a couple of friends, we went to play VR at this place in New Albany near us, and it was interesting. None of us had ever played before or done anything with VR, so they kind of like walked us through the basics and things like that. And we were all in separate rooms, but when we put our visors on, we could see each other and talk to each other, things like that. And the game that they set us in was like a zombie horde, try to kill everybody as waves of zombies are coming at you, and you have limited supplies. And you in like a regular video game, you just like walk over something and like press a button and you would pick up a gun or ammunition or a grenade or something like that. Well, the way you interact with it in VR, like you literally go at something and you press a button on this little joystick that you have, and have to like interact with it. So for a gun, you have to use both hands and aim, things like that. For grenades, you have to pull the pin out, and you throw it. And you have to release at the right time, things like that. And so we're playing this game, and you kind of get disoriented, because you're so in it, and these waves of zombies are coming at you, and you're freaking out. You don't want to die. So I just kind of got disoriented, didn't know where I was in the room. You start off in the center, and it was like a 15 by 15 room. There's lots of space. Somehow I had worked myself into the corner, and I was low on ammunition. There were lots of zombies coming. I was scared for my life. So I saw a grenade on the table, and I went to grab the grenade and throw it. Well, the whole process is kind of awkward, because you have to, like I said, reach at it and you press a button, and then you have to pull the pin, which is another button, and then you have to throw it. And it's kind of like Wii bowling, where you're swinging your arm, but you have to release at the right time. Well, I went like this and released. And so the grenade dropped like right in front of me. And there's no like picking it up or kicking it, like it's not that advanced. So I freaked out. Apparently, I felt like I was in like wartime situation, right? So I yelled grenade, like scream it at the top of my lungs, and take off running. Only there was just a wall like right here. And so I turned, in full speed, bam, right into the wall. And everybody could hear the hit. And so they all started cracking up. They were all laughing. And yeah, it's funny. But yeah, that was my first experience with virtual reality. It got a little too real for me.
That is one of my favorite stories of all time.
Eric stepped out of the room for a moment. Could we start all over?
Yeah,
anyway, I still heard most of it. Yes. I had to wrangle some dogs that seemed to want to bark for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's a great story, Jeremy.
That's the story.
Oh gosh, it's so funny.
So I was running through a field. Like that is how I prepared my body. Like full out running.
I was Sarah. I so wish that would have been on video. Just the CCTV.
I asked the guy. He was like, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Because I told him, I was like, this would be, you would have a YouTube channel that would just explode of you just dropping funny clips of people in VR. Like it would just perfect. And he was like, yeah, we talked about it, but he came in and he was like, I've never seen anything like that before. That's me.
Jeremy's like, you are welcome, sir. All right. Well, in regards to Chad, in regards to Ted giving Chad a compliment, apparently Chad paid him $20. So that makes more sense now. Rick says, Brian Robin, you're not bad. You're just drawn that way. Oh, dear. And there it is. Oh, man. And Cindy wants to know, when it went through the floor, did it crack the foundation, Brian?
I think it did. I also have, my basement now looks like Jed Clampet's backyard. We're going to get a cement pond any day now.
Oh, there it is. Right next to the sarsaparilla pool.
Exactly.
Rick Bradley says, I never read much of the Spirit comic book, but I enjoyed the movie for being a movie. Yeah. I was going to say, if you just go, it's one of those things like Batman and Robin. If you go and you just enjoy whatever it is they give you, and you have zero hope or expectations for anything good, it can be a lot of fun, I think.
That's me, and it's because I don't have this history with comic books. I didn't grow up reading them, so honestly, I go into most movies, comic book or not, and just kind of take it for what it is. Like I love the Fast and Furious movies. I think they're so much fun. I love the Expendables movies. Yeah. They're not going to win any awards ever.
Right. Yeah.
There's just no chance of that. But it's shiny.
Maybe a Razzie award, but
yeah. It's just shiny, and it's like, oh, neat. They just jumped a car from one building to another car, or to another building. Like, wow. That's cool.
See, ladies and gentlemen,
just like childlike or something like
this is what happens when you don't read books. Sarah says she's never heard of, I guess the Spirit, maybe. She's never heard of it. Brian, do you think Sarah would like the Spirit?
I think she would. Because, Sarah's kind of goth, and there are some very dark episodes of it. There really are.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's worth seeking out. If only to see what the rest of us are trying to emulate.
Yeah.
Will Eisner comic stories.
It really is, Sarah. If you just want to read an individual who made comics what they are today, read anything by Will Eisner.
Now, Mr. Morris, our good friend and resident animator, made me aware of the Sunday Comics version of the Spirit, and there are volumes of that out there on Amazon, and I'm just trying to put it together because those were the first run of a lot of the Spirits, and he found volumes of that going all the way back to the original. So Will
Eisner had an extreme talent of taking a very small amount of space and telling the most amount of story you possibly could. And it never felt cluttered. It never felt crowded. It really just, it felt like you were looking at a wonderful piece of art.
So
Brian, are you looking for
space on like a panel?
Like a panel?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And fight scenes, great fight scenes.
Yeah. Let me get a full screen.
There it is.
Yep.
See?
All right. Sweet.
This is the guy who knew how to do it.
And are there any splash pages in there that have like the collage work that he did?
Oh, well, here's something that Eisner was very good for. The Spirit went in the original run, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, didn't have a logo.
No, they really didn't.
He
really
incorporated it into the art.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Such as
do you want me to pull out the ones that I have from like Durant Publishing, where they can see the covers on those that emulates that?
Go ahead.
Or they might have something like that, for instance.
Right.
But for
So
the most
what are
part,
those?
especially
What
in the
are
later
those shapes?
ones, especially in the later ones, they frequently incorporated the name of the Spirit into the artwork itself. Well, here's another one. Look at that.
Yeah.
See?
Those are very neat shapes that I know may or may not be letters because I don't know how to read.
Jeremy's like, I think I know hieroglyphics. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Pretty shapes.
Yeah.
Oh, you got another one?
Yeah, like this one from Durant Publishing. How he
Hold
you
on.
have to ignore the brand. Oh, you got like this one here, like this one here. You see if you could pull up big screen.
I
Here.
am. Yeah, there you go, buddy.
You have to ignore the branding that.
Yes, there you go.
But Will Eisner would actually have moments where he would put the title in that. So this is from like issue number 4 for the Warrant Publishing version of it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's really cool.
He did a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of his like just graphic novels that didn't have anything to do with superheroes. A lot of just the panel art would kind of just weave in and out of itself, and that way, instead of just having the traditional, blocks and squares, he would make it all one art piece almost. And it was just a really, really dynamic, cool way. You got something else for us, Brian?
Yeah, here's I think we can get, but here's an example of how he knew how to do a story even without words.
Oh yeah.
That would be helpful for me.
There you go.
I see words. Aren't those words?
I see words.
I wouldn't know.
But anyway, that's just an example of the genius of Will Eisner. So
that's really cool.
It is.
Like it.
Yeah, so there you go, Sarah. Go ahead and check that out. We think you would like it. Ted Davies says, "Word has it that the Spirit's new movie is coming out in 2023. They're shooting it in the Vatican, and the name of it is the Holy Spirit." Oh, gross.
I got excited.
Should have cleared that with your editor, Ted.
Yeah, and in regards to Jeremy's wonderful harrowing act, his story never gets old, says Sarah, and she is absolutely right. And Damien, you are my hero. There we go. Hello, Lynn Bush. How are you? She says hello. Glad you're here. Rick says at least the Oculus 2 has a barrier you set up, so if you get out of the safe area, it lets you know. In the heat of the moment, though, it didn't matter to Jeremy. It was life or death.
Yeah. I was gonna die. I had to get out of there.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, they had a barrier. It's called the inside wall.
Yeah. I mean, the barrier was the room that I was in, and I just, I found the barrier.
You found the line. Oh. Historical Fencing Guild says Batman and Robin is always a good time, and I agree. I learned to stop hating that movie and just enjoy it for what it was. Every time I watch that, you could just tell Arnold Schwarzenegger is having the time of his life in that movie, and I am so happy for that man that he had that much fun. Historical Fencing Guild says give me. Give me some gun schlocky, good time media. I don't understand that one.
Like Big Scott, J. Scott Campbell, Gen 13 Danger Girl fan.
Oh, okay.
Two very early Image comics that were fun till Daddy took the T-Bird away.
Oh my gosh!
Neat.
So really quick side note. Now that you just said that, Brian, in high school I did a play where it was kind of like going through the decades of America and the different music and art and everything, and exploring some of those things. And it was a musical, and they sang that song, fun till the daddy takes the T-bird away.
Yeah.
Well, one of the girls in our class thought it was fun until the daddy takes your T-shirt away, and we were like, no, that is not the words. And do we need to go to counseling? Like, what's happening here?
That's a whole different conversation there.
That's a different musical, one that probably should never be written. And Sarah says, to the Pope Mobile with Batman and Robin music playing. Oh man, well, we're caught up on the comments. Chad, why don't you jump in next? And I usually give Chad at least one comment, usually just one, every episode, with all the abuse. But Chad did a really good job doing his own review show on the Dastardly Dingoes YouTube channel for about a year, and so he is no stranger to this stuff. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say, man.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Brian K. Morris, as you were sharing about yours, it got me a bit inspired because I only picked one. I didn't even think about picking several like you did, but you went way back, and there was a couple that I didn't think about before, but one of them is Little Nemo in Slumberland, which has a very similar style to The Spirit as far as the artwork, and I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. I actually don't own a copy. I put it in, as y'all were talking, I put it in my Amazon card because I went back and looked at it, and it's so fascinating. I wish there was a way I could show you a picture of it, but the artist does a very similar thing. That he puts in a lot of story in small panels, and it's really incredible that the way he does it. So I know it's not really helpful because I don't have a picture to show you, but either way. So I would recommend that. And then Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom. I really love the original, like old school copies of that story is awesome. And then, of course, Silver Surfer is, I'm a big fan of Silver Surfer, especially the old, the original. So, but having said all that, the comic or trade paperback that I picked is a newer one from 2018, and it is called Versus, or VS, however you want to say it. It is from Image Comics, and the artist is Isaac Rabik. I think that's how you say it. Isaac. I forget how you say it. Isaac Rabik. The reason why I picked this, whenever I look on my shelf and I'm looking for inspiration or a comic that for me challenges me to be a better artist and storyteller, this is one of the books that I'll pick. It's also one that I've read, so I thought about it. Of course, I love like Seven to Eternity, Low, those kind, and Saga, but I haven't finished reading those, so I didn't really want to talk about them. Whereas with this one, I have read. This is a collection of 5 issues. The reason why I love this so much is because for 3 reasons. Number one is the artwork. I'll just show you like 1 or 2 splash pages. I mean, this is like, especially this one right here is just absolutely gorgeous. The way he uses space, like there's so much depth in that, and the way he uses color, and how he renders everything, and just the sci-fi nature of it. I love good sci-fi art, and this whole book is like packed with it. There's another really nice, try to get the little glare off there, but there's a lot of really great artwork, and especially like action, the way he communicates like fight scenes. Oh, here's another. This one's gorgeous. That one right there. Look at that. I mean, stuff like that is just blows my mind. It really challenges me because I love to draw stuff like that as well, but he just is on a whole nother level. So for me, it's really, really helpful. And the way I would describe it is almost like majestic. It's, as I said before, there's a lot of space, very epic, the way he uses lighting. And storytelling, as I said before, if you took away the words, you could tell what was going on in this. And just some of the sequentials in this, And that's what I always like tell people when we talk about comic book art. Sequential art is very difficult to pull off well as an artist for multiple reasons, because first of all, you're forced to be able to draw everything. You can't just like focus on one or two things. If you do pinups all the time or fan art, that's one thing you miss out on when doing sequential art, is the challenge of showing a character in multiple angles, multiple expressions, multiple situations. So yeah, overall, artistically, this is one of the best books I've ever seen. The other thing about this is the storyline. So I'm also a big fan of world building and story, and this has a lot in it. The whole premise of the book is that war has turned into entertainment, and these warriors have become celebrities. And I just thought it was very telling. And on a first read, it's not like super deep, but the more you think about it, the more you realize you could really see our society going in that direction. In the sense, like, I just thought personally, I remember when MMA first started coming out, and I remember thinking, like, we went from boxing to let's take the gloves off and get as much blood in the ring as we can and just like go at it. And for me, it was like this weird transition from I'm not saying boxing is safe, but it would just like a very controlled type fighting sport to this now uncontrolled, like at each other kind of sport. And it's just interesting to see how now I see that MMA as normal, and how you can like slowly your viewpoint can change. And I thought in a society like ours where we've become so kind of affluent, it's interesting how that could be a possibility where war almost becomes entertainment. And you kind of see that on the news too, where it's not that you're entertained, but you're fascinated by those stories of things that have gone wrong, or like conflict or things like that. So it's just interesting. This is a very dystopian type story of the future where war has become entertainment and business. And I find that very fascinating. The other thing that I really like about this, and then I'll be done, is they do this thing where they kind of break the fourth wall. So as you're reading through, there's these advertisements for things that are happening in the story. So like someone will be actually drinking this drink, and then you get an ad for it, but it's part of the story because it's almost like you're watching these wars take place and you're the spectator. And it's got it throughout, like little advertisements. Like here's another one. This was something that the competitors ate to help them. And then they had this really cool thing. This is like part of the game was for people to pray to the higher authorities that their player would win. And so there's this thing called Prayer Boost, and there's an ad for it. And it's just really, really cool how all that molded together. And then you as a reader, it's almost like you're entering into that story. And like I said before, they break that fourth wall where you feel like you're part of this. So I love when stories do that. And so, yeah, overall, this is an amazing book. Awesome story. Artwork is incredible, and highly recommend that book. So.
Chad, you said that you were saying that, you know, the war as entertainment.
Thank you,
as
Clyde.
if it was some sort of like far off thing.
Nicely done.
But some of the stuff that came out about Facebook, that they put more value, the algorithm put more value on the angry faces
Yes.
Yeah.
than they did on the positive ones.
Yeah.
So like, it's not that far off. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's just an angry face or a thumbs up. But like, I mean, there's only a few more steps, and now we're getting excited when, you know, when people are being hurt or things like that. And then, you know, it's kind of like idiocracy.
This isn't the first story to do it. I mean, the obvious examples, Hunger Games, or what was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where they were
Running Man.
The Running Man.
Running Man.
That's right.
Yeah.
How about Rollerball?
Yes,
Yeah.
Rollerball, James Caan.
Rollerball.
Yeah. So it's not out of the question, and I think it's a good. This is one of the things I love about science fiction, is that it's a fictional story, but it serves as kind of a warning or like a potential future. And that's the power of story. Like, and that's what I love about being a comic book creator, is that you can influence a culture through storytelling. So this is one of those stories that I found to be very powerful and made me think a lot after I read it. So for sure. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds very much like a Orwellian, kind of dystopian future type feel.
Yeah,
Basically, with the Roman Empire of bread and circuses, we got to keep the population happy.
Yeah,
and distracted.
Yeah. Hey, it's crazy too. Like, I know it's a funny example, but you watch like something like Gladiator and things like that. But back then it became so normalized that they would be willing to see people dying as entertainment. And sometimes we think things are bad in our culture or whatever. You want to complain about things, but when you look at that culture, that it got to that point, like I feel like we're pretty far from that point, but there's a lot that we could learn from that and really foreshadow that it could very well go in that direction if we're not careful, for sure. One last thing I want to say to Jeremy's point about Facebook. There's a thing on there where it rewards controversy, and I've found that myself too. Like I found like comments, or the funniest one I can think about is I put a post about Dune recently, and like I watched the movie and I loved it, and it was just interesting the comments of people that didn't love it. How for me it got me not emotionally involved, but I immediately wanted to respond. Like it when there's those controversial things or negative posts or whatever, it really does draw attention, which is unfortunate because it just builds this. It's like this snowball effect. It just it increases that kind of attitude, which I think is not helpful, at all. So, for sure.
Just jumping into the comments really quick. Carl says that he thinks it's really cool with the ads, keeping your mind in the world. Another comic that does that really well is White Ash, through Scout Comics. They do similar. I love. Chad, what was the Zeppelin comic that we love?
Oh, Skies of Fire.
Yes, they do that too.
Yeah.
And I love when they just immerse you into the world through ads and different things like that. Cindy Cap says America's Funniest Home Videos tended to be turn on the camera and film someone getting hurt, severely embarrassed, etc. For those. Those were the ones that often won. It was, but that is true. But that was more lighthearted. It was like, oh, look at, like no one died, right? Like usually the people that are in the video doing the stupid thing are in the audience getting the money. So, like, look, I fell down in a funny way. I was running away from invisible zombies and I hit a wall. And Sarah says bad news sells. That's why most news networks are lacking in positivity. That is true. It's always the fear mongering and the, oh no, this is the next thing that's going to kill us all. Sometimes it's true, but sometimes it's just hype. She then goes on to say, people being hanged used to be a family affair. Yes, that, and I, every Halloween, I know, Clyde, you and I talked about this last week on the Dastardly Dingoes here, but talking about just watching creepy and spooky biographies around Halloween. I've been watching a lot of Salem witch trials stuff, and my goodness, just it never ceases to horrify me that people would just gather and watch these people get burned at the stake for fun. I'm like, first of all, like, doesn't the smell bother you? like
they had no TV at the time. They had no movies.
But
they had
still,
but I think
but again, you have all the civilizations that had gathered together to watch people get stoned to death. It's just a form. Even in Rome, the Colosseum, people got together to watch
the
criminals get
gladiator
punched.
games.
Well, even in the early 20th century in Benton County, Illinois, there was a criminal down there who was single-handedly keeping Al Capone from invading Southern Illinois by basically out Caponing him in terms of cruelty and such. And they have pictures of his execution by hanging, and it looked like it should have been in a Coliseum. There's just like this sea of people grinning and waving at the camera and like, boy, we're going to have a good time sort of thing. So, it's not that far removed from what we have now, especially at the reality program.
And that's less than 100 years ago.
Breaking up. and
Yeah.
personal tragedies, all kinds of Schadenfreude and going on. So I think we're a lot closer to that, unfortunately, than we think.
I might go see a good stoning. That might be entertaining.
Yeah, depends on who's getting it. Yeah,
I've never seen the guillotine really go off. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh my gosh!
Special basket cam.
Yeah.
Oh man!
Oh
that's
no!
Basket
There's
cam.
a little GoPro inside the basket. Oh no!
Basket cam. Wow.
I think that's
Rails.
it makes sense once that person that is being persecuted is seen as an enemy. And I think, I remember listening to a podcast once of a Holocaust survivor. And I know it's easy to go to this, but it was a good example that she had said when she was a kid, it was like within like a couple months, her friends went from being her best friends to hating her. And it was just because of how the culture had shifted and that the people as a whole had accepted that these other people were no longer acceptable. And you see that back in Rome too, like the people that were being thrown to the lions, everyone saw them as the enemy. And so and I think when you look at our cultural situation here, it just keeps swinging, like from extreme one way to where, people are being excluded and looked down on. And it's almost like swinging back the other way to say, well, then the other people now are like that. And it's so quick. It can happen so quickly. And that's where I think sci-fi stories like this and historical examples can really guard us from falling into that same pit. So.
Well, leave it to Chad to bring up the Holocaust and account.
Well, you're welcome. Yes, you're welcome.
I'm gonna go
Carl.
now.
Yeah, no. Carl says positive news makes people respond with jealousy. Bad news makes people feel relief that it didn't happen to them. It's human. That's what a lot of news outlets are counting on. I don't usually feel that way, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. And he says, Sarah, they took kids to see hangings as a warning for kids to behave and not to steal, kill, etc. Yeah, and you get a lot of stuff like that's where Krampus came from. A lot of those kind of tales of the opposite of Santa Claus. If you behave, you'll get something good, but if you don't, a monster will come on Christmas around Christmas time and take you and beat you and send you to hell. And I think that's always a good bedtime story to tell children. And yeah, he said it's like the boogeyman. Rick says whenever I post anything where a good thing happens or people doing good, it gets very few reactions. But anything where people are being horrible gets a ton of reactions because people love seeing
horrible.
Because people are horrible. Pretty much. Yeah.
Here's our takeaway for the night.
Guild says mean-spiritedness sells. If people if people as friends they buy and share one pizza, if they are divided they buy two pizzas. I don't know what that means, but now I want pizza.
So the real takeaway here is you all need to think about this conversation every time Brian Rodman makes fun of me. And every time you're laughing at it, just remember that you're falling into the same thing here.
That's right.
That's wrong. This is different.
Yeah,
it's what makes this show so popular. The chat abuse,
like Historical Victor says, it's absolutely so easy to go from us to them, and them, Chad. Exactly. So Joe D. McPhee, what do you got for us, man? Why don't you we'll give you full screen. You tell us what amazing stories you're going to review this week.
Well, we're going to start with the must read for Chad.
Yes.
He doesn't read.
All right.
This is the must read.
No, Jeremy doesn't read.
Yeah.
Jeremy doesn't read.
Can't read. It wasn't doesn't read.
Yeah, exactly. He's illiterate.
I know you need a scorecard, Joe. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, where's the program? Where's the program? It's like I don't know the players all that well. But the must read. And this is like one of the few stories that I would give people who want to get serious into reading comic books and want a great story. It's this one right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills.
Chad, have you read that?
I had not. I've heard a
You
lot about it.
would love that story. It is fantastic.
Now,
is that a collection or is that just one?
No, this is a graphic
issue?
novel. It's
Yeah.
a
okay.
standalone graphic novel. I believe that this is also one of the rare first printings of it too.
Oh,
You
cool.
probably won't be able to find this in this format, but they have reprinted several times over.
Okay.
And what makes this thing so good is that it really highlights, and I do mean it highlights, the aspect of bigotry amongst all people and how to really get over it. And the fact that religion was used to justify it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Destructive to the state, I should say. So
That's
this
cool.
is like one of those, comics that is very, very deep, but fun, but very, very deep. And the ending is one of those endings that you can stand up and applaud at the end. Because the heroes didn't save the day. A regular person saved the day.
I always like those stories.
So that would be like required reading to be in the cool kids club as far as reading graphic novels and comics. Now, some other...
I'll get my wife to read it to me.
Get the audiobook.
Now, the other thing that I would have people to read, just on an off chance, especially if you're wanting to understand the difference between different superhero archetypes, I would suggest during the I'm blanking on his name now. Oh shoot. Give me a second here, but I can tell you which one it is, but it's Wonder Woman 219 and 220. And the reason I bring that up is this is the very first time that for most comic book readers, especially dealing with the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, that one of them actually kills. Even though we know that Wonder Woman would go that route, but it has to be something of magnitude. And she actually got really, people, Batman, Superman really got into her about, you shouldn't have killed, you should have brought him in. It's like, no, what was set in motion, it was unavoidable. She had to do what she did.
Yeah.
And then issue 220 was kind of like the aspect of her dealing with the consequences of it, which is really happened in comic books. She actually went to jail for murder.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is there was like one of the few times where, a actual villain actually died as a result, that the hero actually killed the villain as a result of it, for the purpose of what they did was so evil and what they had planned was so evil that there was no other choice. And the fact that it was looked at unpopular by her cohorts. And then the last one is Fantastic Four 281, when they actually revealed that Sue Richards was Malice during the, I forgot what it was called. It was like a hate campaign or something like that. That was like Burn. I forgot who else was with Burn during this time of the Fantastic Four. They were doing like this one thing about dealing with hatred back in the, I want to say the 80s. Yeah, 85. The aspect of hate. And it got to the point where Sue actually got brainwashed, and they brainwashed her enough to make her Malice. And she pretty much beat the rest of the Fantastic Four individually and then almost as a group. But this was where they actually revealed that Sue was doing all of this in the long run.
That's really cool.
So, there's
I like
weird aspects like that are in comics that people need to understand. And it's like, it's not just, bad guy beat, bad guy do something bad, good guy, comes in, swoops down, save the day in the story. It's like, no, there's deeper concepts, and you have to look for those deeper concepts for a deeper story and everything. And
Yeah.
by that time in like the 80s and the 90s, we were starting to really get that cusp back of what we was getting back in like the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. I like stories like that where you're looking at things from a different perspective. I mean, I enjoyed you're watching like the Avengers movies, and then all of a sudden there's the first Spider-Man where it starts off and you're dealing with the fallout of having a war in a major metropolitan area. And, what do you do with this? And you've got people that are like scavengers and, trying to like make a profit off of it. And, it just raises all kinds of interesting questions about who's the good guys.
We talk about Homecoming, the whole part of where, we have all these little bitty contractors come in, and then all of a sudden damage control comes in. It's like, nope, get out of here. You're no longer needed. It's like, us little guys need to eat too. We're not scavenging. We were contracted too. How are you just up and just tell us to go away?
Yeah.
And then that's when Adrian Toombs was like, you know what? We just going to start raiding what we were told to take away and use that, sell that, and make our money that way.
Yeah. That's cool. Those are definitely.
I just love the way that they told the story. It was deeper, but it also played into what Tony told Peter in that movie. Yeah, you might have power, and you might have enough power to be a part of the Avengers, but start small. Be the hero for the little guy. Always be local.
Yeah.
There's always going to be time to do the bigger thing, but still, you have to do the small stuff first.
Yeah.
Take care of the guy that can't fight by himself. And that ended up being like the theme throughout Homecoming.
Yeah.
Well, those are awesome reviews, Joe. You got anything else, or you finished up?
That was pretty much it. Like I said, I was like, I could pull out things for days, but that was like the first couple of things that, grabbed me to really talk about to people who really may not be into comics, but want to really get into it, and some of the stories to look forward to, especially the required reading.
Sure, man. Well, thank you, Joe. Wonderful. Well done. Let's jump back into the comments really quick. Finding my place. And we had a comment dump, Brian.
Yay, he experienced one. Yay.
Sarah says, thank you for changing the subject. You're welcome, because Chad's awful and brought us something terrible.
Monster.
Yeah, exactly. Historical
Yeah,
Fantasy Guild says,
he part did the movie that turned Sue Storm into a hit. Malice.
I accidentally cosplayed as Krampus one Halloween. How do you accidentally cosplay as Krampus? How does that, what are you just like? Oops! I'm a giant, Christmas monster. Darn.
You need to send your kids to hell.
Yeah, but it was thanked by several sets of parents.
Wow.
Jeez.
Thank you for scaring our children.
Yeah. Oh man, and Carl says we're almost back on the rails. Let's everybody collectively laugh at Carl.
Next time we have to do it just like the clip. This is the time that we throw our head back and laugh.
Yeah, there we go.
It says Rick says Charlie Burger was the one we had down here in Southern Illinois. He would bring food to my grandparents when they had none. So I kind of thank him for being alive. Yeah.
Rad.
Awesome.
That's the guy I was thinking of. That's the guy.
Yeah. And just because I love this quote. Religion used to justify murder. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Oh, man. Oh, Jeremy. Rick says we have a ton of books that my 3-year-old daughter is done with. If you need those to start off, buddy. He's got your back. Look at that.
Yeah,
Look at the teamwork. It takes a village to teach a Jeremy how to read.
That's right.
The rising tide.
And all right, well, Jeremy.
What?
You want to go next, buddy?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
I can do that.
Go for it, man. Is this your first comic review?
Yeah.
Yes.
Giddy up.
All right. Let's see it.
So I'll start off with a story. It was about 2016, and I was working at a job that I didn't like, so I was distracted and on the internet, and I saw a friend of mine post a comic book that he had been working on, for probably 10 years, and it just put it all together into issues that you could buy. So I went ahead and bought them, read it, I loved it, and I reached out to him to see if he could help me get into comics, because I've always enjoyed comic book movies. Honestly, I watched comic book movies before I read any comics, so that's how much of a noob I am. So I reached out to my friend Brian Rodman, and he started, telling me about, the process that he goes into making it, and some of his inspirations and things like that, and really started to enjoy it, and started collecting my own, things like that. And so, yeah, I feel like, if you're a sports fan, you have to have your team. Nobody is a sports fan and is just like a nomad. They don't really root for any one team. So I felt the same way about comics. There was this period where it was like, I've got to find my guy, or girl, or, whatever, alien, zombie. I've got to find that person that, I'm obsessed with this person. And so I always gravitated towards Wolverine because he and I kind of have a similar personality. Sometimes he's, nice and funny and sarcastic, and other times he's clawing your face off. So that really kind of resonated with me. He's like if Ron Swanson was a superhero, he would be the Wolverine, and I'm cool with that. I like that. So I started to collect comics. I found out that it was easier to like catch up reading things with apps like Comixology and things like that. And so I kind of went hard in the paint, for a sports metaphor, and just downloaded a whole lot of Wolverine comics. And so I think my favorite artist who ever drew Wolverine was probably Mark Silvestri. I kind of like his take on Wolverine in the like X-Men series, like 91 to 2001, I think was when he was working on that, right?
Yep.
I also like Jim Lee, Chris Claremont. I think they did a great job with it. I like the series that Frank Miller did. I'm not a huge fan of the way that Frank Miller drew Wolverine, but I liked the story of it. And the story that I like the most is like towards the beginning of the Wolverine Origins series, like starting with like issue 16. I like it because it tells a story of like two superheroes on a similar path, and how they came out differently. Specifically, Captain America and Wolverine. And it starts off, and they're in some sort of military attachment during World War II. And it just kind of shows how life has happened so differently to these people, and created two completely separate superheroes or just people in general as a result. So it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, seeing things from a different perspective. This is kind of showing you both perspectives. It starts off with Wolverine in a museum, drunk, looking at a statue of Captain America, and that image kind of just stuck in my head, because like the nature of Wolverine, where he's lived for so long as a result of his powers. He's seen a lot of friends come and go, and this is him like looking back retrospectively at what have I done with my life, and dealing with the consequences of all of his actions. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite story of Wolverine. And it's one of those like, I don't know if you've ever seen this cover before, but like that just grabs you. Like you want to see what this is all about. It's one of those situations where you get into it and you wished that the cover artist was the one that did all of the artwork.
All the time.
Yeah. So, but I still loved the story. I think that's definitely the Wolverine story that has stuck with me the most. Because we all have to kind of do that at some point. Look inwardly and figure out, like, were we successful at this point in our life? What does that look like? And yeah, so that's my comic book review.
Excellent. And I think yes, okay. Everyone give it up for Jeremy. That was well done, sir. And as in the words of the illustrious Ted Davies, Jeremy, you are now in our sinister clutches. Welcome to the comicsdom. And yeah, I agree with that absolutely, wholeheartedly. So now, guys, we now just need to shower Jeremy with all the comics. I think that needs to happen now. So just harass him with all comic books.
Yeah.
Now that we know what he likes. So let's see. Before we jump back into comics, let's do one more. Eric, you ready?
Well, sure.
All right.
Why not? And right away for the Historical Fencing Guild, Gen 13, number 1, cover H, I believe, of the 13 covers of the regular series, one of the more rare ones. That was in a box set. Boobs. So I pulled out some comics, and some of these aren't going to be reviews. I'm just going to show them. Now I am an older gentleman, so I have been around for a while. I've seen some cheap comics out there when they're very inexpensive. I read comics before this, but this is the first one I remember buying, and I still have it. It's beat to crap, and it would fall apart if I pulled it out of the sleeve. But I bought this on a vacation to Florida, if I remember correctly. But it is the first one I bought, G.I. Joe number 11.
Ooh, yeah.
And I also remember this particular comic in the commercial for the toy as well and the comic, because back then they had commercials for the comic. It would come spinning at the TV. And this was from '83, so that was one of the first comics I ever bought. And to carry on with a little bit of G.I. Joe for Joe, so if you want an issue that you don't have to read, G.I. Joe 21.
Nice.
No words. If you want to learn more about Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, 26 and 27 right here.
Oh, but Eric, what if he just watches the Snake Eyes movie? Isn't that enough?
I can just do that, right?
I think I hear my mother calling me.
Then they say the words to me. They don't.
I have not watched it yet. I will not give my criticism of that movie, even though I've heard very horrible things about it. Where apparently Snake Eyes has to fight. Well, Snake Eyes is the bad guy of the movie, apparently, from what I'm hearing.
What?
So
for most of the movie, yeah.
That's stupid.
So my first experience with a comic book was a Snake Eyes comic that a friend of mine had, and he let me borrow it. And basically, the idea was he, snuck in somewhere and dropped down and killed everybody. And my parents saw it, and they
Your
were not
friend did this?
excited about it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he let me borrow it, and then my parents saw it, and they were like, "Comic books are the devil." So,
Well,
Makes them
yeah.
fun.
yeah,
my love of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow is what caused me to get this tattoo right here.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Rashikage.
Mhm.
So
That's cool.
we'll move on. And this is the probably the first comic I recall buying in high school, because I remember walking across the street to the Hucks, because we had an open campus at the time. So I'd go over there and get some nachos or something. I always looked through the magazines and comics. And this is my first X-Men book, 193,
Nice.
which would probably fall apart too.
Well, just to make you happy, my very first X-Men book was 191.
Oh,
The
nice.
one where Vision split apart Colossus.
Mm.
My first X-Men book was #1. Shut up, both of you.
So was mine, but it was Jim Lee and Chris Claremont.
Ooh, I got about 10 of those over here. And I cannot agree with Joe enough about this one.
Yep.
It is the perfect book to read. If I had to, I usually recommend 3 comic book stories. That one, Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it is just, the perfect story of a man being destroyed, torn down, going crazy, and redeeming himself and building his way up.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I still had the single issues, but I don't. I loaned them to a friend and never returned. But the last story I always recommend to people, and for some reason I only have 4 of the issues here. The other 2 must be put up. But it's a 6-part series in the Spider-Man comics in 87, 86. But it's Kraven's Last Hunt.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
All drawn by Mike Zeck and written by J.M. DeMatteis.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, and this one, the cover was just so epic. I love that.
Mm.
And I'd always been a big Spider-Man fan, but when I found these, and as you can tell by all these, they've all got barcodes. So I did not know what a comic shop was at this time. I was still getting these off the newsstand.
Nice.
Nice.
In fact, I didn't know what a comic shop was for a long time. But this is one of the this and Born Again are probably my 2 favorite. I think the X-Men one comes a little after that. Depends on the mood I'm in. But Kraven goes out. He's dying, if I do remember correctly. And his one person he's never been able to beat is Spider-Man. He wants to prove to himself he can beat Spider-Man and be a better Spider-Man. So he kills Spider-Man, takes his place, and just wreaks havoc all over the city, beating up people and scaring Mary Jane, because I don't believe Kraven knew who Peter Parker or Spider-Man was. He didn't know he was Peter Parker, but he does run into Mary Jane, and Mary Jane thinks it's Peter at first, but she gets a little scared. And ever since this storyline, she has not liked that black costume. It terrified her after that. But Spider-Man gets out of his slumber, and that's when he's climbing out of the grave. He was actually buried, and he has to fight his way. He finds Kraven. He beats Kraven. But Vermin is loose throughout the city. So Spider-Man has to go get Vermin, who was created by Mike Zeck and J.M. DeMatteis as well. And in that meantime, Kraven kills himself.
Jeez. Yeah.
And it's a very dark story, but it's probably what the first series that made me really appreciate comic book writing more than anything, and the art that was in it. Because Mike Zeck just brings it on every single page. He doesn't take no shortcuts. It's just all great artwork. And really, that's all I got. Those are my favorite stories in comic books of the past.
That's awesome, man. Those are some excellent choices.
Good
And they're
Very,
75 cents when I got them.
Nice.
Nice.
I was actually going to I was gonna bring Born Again up, but I knew you would. Born
love
Again
Born-
is
yeah.
Born Again is one of mine. Also,
My
The Man
favorite
Without
DD
Fear,
story.
which is Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
That was the first. That was probably my first big deep dive into comics as a teenager. Was that graphic novel? I loved that story, both of them. So jumping back into the comments for a minute. Cindy says, I like stories in which the solution to the problem does not use the larger hammer. I do too. It brings a whole new dynamic to solving problems to defeat the enemy. It's not just a larger, like the tough guy comes in and smashes harder. That's I mean, sometimes that's fun, depending on the villain. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm always up for a Superman Darkseid fight. But usually Superman doesn't just beat Darkseid through force, which is nice. And Brian, you know all about that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what I like about the Superman, the most recent Superman movies, is that they talk about that side of it. Like,
Yeah.
what happens when two hammers try to kill each other? Well, the entire city's destroyed and a lot of people die.
Yeah.
And then that creates more villains who are mad about their loved one dying, So yeah,
for
I
sure.
agree totally.
Sarah says she accidentally ended up running Ron Fitzgerald's booth when she'd never been to a con before. How'd that happen? I still don't know. Let's see. Rick Bradley says, can we also say just how flipping awesome Michael Keaton was as the Vulture? I was entranced, but yes, I was so surprised.
Yep.
I
He
mean,
was great.
Michael Keaton's a great actor, but
especially in the car. That was
that scene is so good. So good.
I still got to see Birdman because of him. I still want to see that.
Birdman yet?
Here.
I haven't seen it either, but that
really
made me
good.
want to go watch it, and I still haven't done it.
Yeah.
It's let me tell you, it's weird. It's very weird, but it is good. Like I was bitter that he didn't win the Oscar for it.
He's really good in Dope Sick. That's on
I haven't
Hulu right
watched
now.
it yet. Yeah,
That is good. Yeah.
And Ted Davies says, Jeremy, you are now. Oh, we already got that. You're Sinister Clutches. Well, there you go. All right.
You're still
I
in
read
it.
that. Dan Hollifield. Hey, man. He says, sorry I'm late. All sorts of things cropping up at the last minute. What's up, buddy? Glad you're here. So is Rick Bradley. Carl says, good review, Jeremy. And a lesson, too. Look at that. The more you know. Sarah says she likes the trade paperback Heroes in Crisis because it shows their humanity and struggles to remain anonymous. Yeah.
It's a decent story.
Yeah. Oh, I had another comment dump, Brian. Jeez.
Uh-oh.
He's up to
It's
two.
Yeah.
Famous.
Dan Hollifield says, now the question is, what did your mom call you in that instance?
His full name.
Jeremy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Jeremy Ryan Woodring.
Ryan.
That's my middle name.
And Dan Hollifield joins the X-Men conversation. X-Men #1, giant size.
Good start.
Yep. And Rick says, I love that they turned Wolverine into a deep character. They could have just left him as is, but thankfully they didn't.
Yeah.
And also they think they should be a Disney Plus. There should be a Disney Plus series of Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Colossus. Yeah, those three were great together. That would be fantastic. I would love to see them eventually do a kind of a Dark Avengers with Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, and I think that would be really cool to see.
That'd be fun.
Oh, Rick says, "Oh no, Eric looks like he was about to break through the internet in full
You
throttle."
did.
Snake Eyes is very dear to me.
I was concerned for myself.
We got that impression,
I
Eric.
did that on purpose because I knew that I would be in trouble after that, and I like to liven things up a little bit. Sarah says, anything you guys are looking forward to picking up tomorrow? That's a great question. So tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. Why don't we go around the room really quick? Brian, start us off. What are you excited about tomorrow? Or are you excited about anything?
I I think part of it for me is the mystery. There was something coming out, but I was like, okay, good, it's coming out. And I can't think of anything I've seen so far that I've seen, other stores say, okay, this is what we're going to be putting on the racks tomorrow. I can't think of anything that I'm really like gaga over. Although I am looking forward to seeing like a Dead Box. We ought to be coming up on another issue of Blue Flame. And of course, I'm following the Superman books with a lot of interest right now. So those would be mine. But I really don't know what's coming out tomorrow. What's that one site you keep talking about, Eric?
LeagueofComicGeeks.com.
League of Comic Geeks. Okay, come back to me. I want to look at this. So
do they have like what is coming out? Is that what the website is for?
Yeah, they have listings of everything that's coming out. They also, if you create an account out there, you can actually catalog all your comics as well.
Oh, cool.
And some shops actually would use them to sync up your pull list.
Sync up what?
Your pull list at the comic shop. So you can mark it as it's going to be pulled on the website. The comic shop will pull it for you, and they automatically add it to your collection.
Yep.
Oh, neat.
That's called a pull box. Yeah, or a pull list. Yeah.
Okay. I just go and grab things. I didn't know that there was a lot of automation.
I like to books.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like I just go down the aisle into my shopping cart.
Yeah. Joe, what are you looking forward to tomorrow?
Like I said, I had that evil grin.
Tomorrow,
because tomorrow is what a lot of people have been expecting. That they thought it was going to be late, but I told them no, it's not late. Just we're waiting for it. So Wonder Girl 4 is going to come out tomorrow, as well as Wonder Woman Black and Gold. I think it's like issue 4 or 5. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Clyde, what about you?
It seems like this is the week for Blue Flame, because I've been reading that along with Brian Morris, and the 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's tomorrow, but I think it might be, and that's like the wrapper. That's the finish of it. So I'm hoping that's tomorrow. Every week I've been looking after the last issue. Every week I've been going, is it coming out now? Is it coming out now? Because it has one of those classic. I know who did it. Is the last panel for the last book, and they've done a really good job of making this an enjoyable romp of a mystery. So, those are the ones that are at the forefront. It seems like one of the horror books that I've been getting has also got a final. Oh, it may be a new Bunny Mask day. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Now, what was the swashbuckling comic series?
7 Swords.
Yeah.
That one also should be wrapping up here shortly. I don't know. Okay. Tomorrow seems a little early for that, but I don't have my fresh list right in front of me. So, but yeah, those are all upper tier. Shang-Chi has been a really good series, but I don't think it's due out. The new one is due out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Those would be my top picks if any of those come out. And I'm kind of leaning toward the scary books because it's Halloween.
It's like Halloween.
So I want to see that kind of stuff.
For sure. Eric, what about you?
He's muted.
I think you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, the dogs start barking and I'm muted. To answer Carl's question real quick, if I remember, Carl, it's in the art section where people send in art of the Wizard magazine. I don't remember what it was called, but it was on the right-hand side and should be in the upper corner. If you got the right one, it would be in there. It's Apocalypse fighting Juggernaut and looks horrible. It'll say Eric Hawkins, Cahokia, Illinois. But what I'm looking forward to, Moon Knight number 4 comes out this week. Gunslinger Spawn, I might pick that up.
I'm going to be getting it too. So
then I won't bother. You'll tell me how bad it is on the second issue.
I'm getting that and King Spawn number 3. Hopefully King Spawn redeems itself. My gosh.
Vinyl number 5, because I've been liking that. Checkmate number 5. I got to get that because that's Brian's favorite book.
I just saw that, and I'm like, dear God, I can spare myself a trip to the shop tomorrow.
There's a couple others. Oh, Stranger Things #2. I might pick that up, even though I still haven't read the first one. But I plan to go back and read it, but I think that's about it. But I still got to pick up stuff I didn't get last week too. Oh,
There's a Stranger Things comic.
One interesting.
There is. It just started.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Maybe
I'm gonna
that
have to
should
get
be
that.
what you go pick up tomorrow.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, seriously. You love Stranger Things.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I mean, I thumbed through the first issue. It looked pretty good. I just didn't read it yet.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Jeremy, is there anything else you might be looking for tomorrow that you've heard tonight?
Has the Last Ronin 4 come out yet?
Yes, I believe
has?
issue 4 has.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So yeah, I'll look for that one, and then probably.
I
Stranger
say that.
Things.
I'm not sure, Jerry. I don't think it has actually.
Okay.
I think it got delayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, either that or I'll get the Stranger Things started.
Sweet, Chad. Are you gonna be useful?
I'll try to be useful. Yeah. I have not been to the comic book store in quite a while, but I'm looking through this list, and there's a couple that I would get if I were to go tomorrow. But I'm actually looking forward the trade paperback version. The first one is "We Only Find Them When They're Dead."
Yes.
I love that series.
That's
Yeah.
good.
It's gorgeous. So that's the one I really want to come out as hardback with all the collected version, and I just want to read through them all. So I'm a little bit behind on that one. And then Once in Future is amazing.
Yes, Once in Future is so good.
And then one that it's probably odd for me to say, but I've read a few of the Ice Cream Man, and I don't know why. It's just fascinating to me. It's creepy and like weird, and I don't know. I would probably check that one out too. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I am very sad with the choice of cover art for this one, but I am super excited about the Batman Long Halloween one shot. It comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb both returned for it, and I'm super excited about it. The front cover, though, I don't know if you guys have seen this. It looks awful.
It's horrible.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's
literally
bad.
Batman's head is like all jacked up off to the side. So I'm not
Hey,
sure.
there are 2 other covers though.
There are. Unfortunately, I didn't.
They
I'm
don't
not
look
getting
much
either
better.
one of them.
Does
Well,
this
no,
Batman have a neck?
the tooth. No, he doesn't. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, the Two-Face cover looks really good. Although I love Tim Sale's artwork. And the other one is a new Source Point Press book called The Winchester Mystery House #1. And that just seems very. I'm always intrigued by the Winchester House stuff. So I'm excited about that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna go pick those up tomorrow.
Is this what you're talking about?
Oh, hold on. Let me zoom in real quick.
Sorry.
No,
Is
you're
that what
good.
you're talking about?
No, that is the traditional cover. That is
Oh.
the Long Halloween, the actual graphic novel. They're doing a new special where they came back to revisit some stories, same team and everything. And that is my favorite. The Long Halloween is my favorite Batman graphic novel. So I'm very excited about the story of this.
Yeah.
I've seen some interiors and they're really good. So they're not bad like the cover is.
How do you like the animated?
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had time, but I do like.
I haven't either.
I like the change in artwork. I'm glad they didn't try to copy Tim Sale's artwork because I feel like that would have been weird as animation. I don't think they would have been able to do it well. But I do like the animation, so I've heard really good things about it. I think it's great.
How does he have a job? I'm looking at the cover. Yeah.
Tim Sale. Oh, that one cover. And guys, back me up. That is not good. That is not a good representation of his artwork.
No.
No, it's kind of like he phoned that one in.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. He's very stylistic, but like I don't know, Chad. Did you ever watch the show Heroes?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
I did.
Yeah, Tim Sale is the artist in season 1. He's not the actor, but all the paintings that are done
okay.
in season 1. Tim Sale did that artwork.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Brad?
Yeah.
I love
Neat.
that show. The first season.
The first season,
Yeah.
I actually only have the first season because why bother after that?
Yeah.
And let's see. Cindy says Nightcrawler needs to get more love, and I absolutely Nightcrawler is
Kurt
arguably my favorite X-Men. He is
Kurt needs it.
fantastic.
He
Yes.
does. He does.
And Rick Bradley says, I remember a Spidey issue where the chameleon was going crazy and was talking to Kraven, and he knew Spidey's identity and attacked MJ, and she just lost her temper and beat the crap out of him.
Remember that? Yes. That was
MJ
good.
remembers.
Yeah. And he tried to pretend to be Peter, and MJ finally cracked. Yeah.
One of my favorite stories of the Chameleon was back around Amazing Spider-Man 80 or 81, where he's fighting Spider-Man, and he's like, and Chameleon's like, well, I know I'm clever, I'm smarter than Spider-Man. I'm going to disappear into the crowd in this great disguise as one of his friends. And Spidey just looks down and goes, aha, I know which one you are. And he goes down and starts wailing on him, just beating the crap out of him, and he pulls him up, and he disguised himself as Peter Parker.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in, and I have two which I have talked about all the time. Two of my favorite collector's editions. The first one is my first is library edition, the volume 1 of Hellboy. And as you all know, I am a sucker for Mike Mignola. But these books are really where my obsession with comics began. And I will say, in my opinion, I think every comic, if it were possible, I wish every comic series could get oversized library editions like this, because look at the amplification, how they're just the artwork pops. It is huge. And of course, Mike Mignola's beautiful, just shape-driven, heavily shadowed artwork for Hellboy. I think, it's no secret that Mike Mignola and especially Hellboy have been huge influences on my art style. But just if only I could get this man to be my regular artist at beck and call, I would absolutely love it. Just gaze at that beauty. I love it. And I love the oversized. This is the, cloth bound book. It's so good. And I saw like Jeremy, I was introduced to Hellboy through the movies. And when I started reading the comics, there was just something about the artwork, something about the Mike Mignola's storytelling that I was really introduced to my love for comics was through Frank Miller, specifically with Born Again and The Man Without Fear. But I found that when I started reading Hellboy, I couldn't put it down, and to the point where now, like, I was just so drawn to that style of artwork and just his specific style of storytelling that it made me. It really that was I don't know if I've ever said this before out loud, but this, Hellboy was what made me to decide to make Memoirs of an Angel into a comic instead of a novel series. I was reading through the Hellboy books, and it just kind of, I was going back and forth. I had started Memoirs of an Angel as a novel series, which I eventually will finish one day, hopefully. But I was going back and forth. I had written a couple scripts, I'd drawn a few pages, and then I started writing a few. I wrote like 2 chapters just to kind of get the feel of what form the story needed to take. And when I read Hellboy, I could just see my thoughts now turn into pages like Hellboy. And it was, the decision was made. So Hellboy will always, for many reasons, have a special place in my heart. My next pick is another library edition, the leather-bound Sandman. And these are not the oversized ones. They do have the oversized editions, but I preferred the leather-bound, edition of this. And just, I mean, if Mike Mignola became my obsession with comics, inspired my obsession with comics, Neil Gaiman showed me what comics could be, in not just a traditional form, but just in the stories that you tell, just how you can just run with your imagination. Sandman is, the first volume is a little more, it's a little more superhero-esque, but that's as close to the superhero genre as Sandman is, as volume 1, which is oh goodness, which is Preludes and Nocturnes. And but talk about just pages that are like giant collage, where everything just kind of goes to the next panel flawlessly. Just beautiful page layouts. And I actually learned that Neil Gaiman does a lot of his page layouts himself. He did with the famous story, let's see if I can find it here really quick. Oh, the one of the stories I can't remember. I'm sorry. He shows in his masterclass that he how he lays it out, and he's not an artist. But he does go through, and as he's writing, he kind of lays the pages out and sends them to the artist, and the artist, whoever's working with him, kind of takes it from there. But the Sandman series is a series that really Neil Gaiman had no line really with this. All he had to do was say, that Morpheus dream was, he could go anywhere. He could do anything. He could go to ancient Roman times. He could, he was eternal, so he was timeless. But then he can also go inside people's dreams, so he can completely dream something up out of nothing and tell a story in that world, and then jump right back into the real world in whatever historical time period he wanted to. And the storytelling, the character arc, the development of the immortal siblings in Sandman is very good. And they've since gone back and revisited the Sandman universe. It's okay, but it's nothing compared to this original run that Neil Gaiman had. But of all the comics that I own, those are the two, complete series that I adore, and that's why they get the fancy collector's edition purchases, because I absolutely love them. But yeah, that's my those are my reviews of the back issues. So yeah, thank you. Yes.
I thought Thomas Hayden Church did a really great job with his character. Sandman. Remember?
Oh, I hate you.
Come on.
I was just thinking Wings. I was like, how's that?
Yeah, I was like, wait.
They're getting ready to do a series on Sandman, and I wondered if he was cast. And I'm like,
I know. I was like,
cast for that.
And I will say this: the only thing so far, I don't mind what I've seen from the trailer, the very brief trailer we got from the Netflix show. The only problem I have with it is he looks too much like a human in the trailer, which kind of makes me twitch a little bit. But the audiobooks of this series are phenomenal. I mean, the cast alone is already better than the Netflix show, in my opinion. James McAvoy does a phenomenal job as Morpheus, and I mean, there's all-star cast does the voices, but it's very interesting because Neil Gaiman actually narrates the audiobooks, and it's literally he's narrating the pictures in the panel of what the characters are doing, and then they break the dialogue down into like a radio show. And they did such a good job of translating that into audiobook, because I was like, how are you going to do that with a comic? They did a great job. Absolutely great job. And there we go. Ted Davies. There you go, boy. Yeah, Hellboy. That's right. I did that for you, man. Actually, I did that for me, but we agree. I'm looking forward to getting Memoirs of an Angel issue 8 on Kickstarter as we speak. For
5 more days.
Yes. Halloween at noon. It's over. So scatter. Go to Kickstarter. I'll forgive you if you leave this show.
When do we get our leather-bound library edition of Memoirs of an Angel?
I'm working on it. Actually, no. I have a plan for such things, which I will actually be releasing some thoughts on that soon. Yes. So, indeed. And Rick says, Heroes, such a great casualty of the writers. It really was. The writers' strike did kind of kill that show. Unfortunately, they really had a great ending to season 1 that set up season 2, and the first half of season 2 was still on par, and then the writer's strike happened, and the whole show kind of went kaput, for sure. And now, folks, the real reason that you're here, we bring you the king of all reviewers. At least in this panel, Clyde Hall. Lay it on us, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the... I went from being just an honorary Dastardly Dingo Knight to being king. So, hey, that's... So, for our desk from a Dastardly Spectrum combo series here, I was trying to come up with something Halloweenish. A lot of the things I like are older. Some of the more spooky things, some of them are more modern. So I picked out 3 things just to talk, 2 to talk briefly about, 1 to give you a little bit of a rundown, because I think it's probably the best of all of them for a Halloween read. And wouldn't you know it, one of them is Batman Long Halloween.
Yay.
And it's not only because the story is good, but also because of pages like Tim Sale doing that kind of work.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Chad, that is Tim Sale.
Yeah,
Tim Sale at his best.
I googled some of his art after I said that, and I had to immediately take back what I said. I was a bit harsh, so it's just
it is very stylistic. There's no doubt. But when you have a Solomon Grundy looking like that, I'm in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm in. But I got to thinking that in Batman he gets no exposure. We don't talk enough about Batman, Then I thought, yeah, he's probably overblown right now. We don't need any more about him. I went with the other end of the spectrum with somebody created with the help of one of the same people that is now credited as a co-creator of Batman, Bill Finger. Wildcat was a creation of him and Erwin Hassan. And if you long for any Wildcat goodness, he's a minor character. He is not A-lister by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a member of the Justice Society. He's not a founding member, but he's a long-term member. He's also kind of a connection to Pulp because he's a guy with no powers. He's a boxer. Later on, they gave him the possibility that he had multiple lives like a cat, which I think works okay because he can die. He just can come back 9 times. But in this trade paperback collection, you get the stories that first drew me to Wildcat, and that's his Brave and Bold appearances with Neil Adams covers like this one. Now, Bob Haney seemed to have a love-hate relationship about Wildcat, and I tried to figure it out because Ted Grant was always a retired boxer in the Bob Haney B&B stories who was down on his luck. The one story where he wasn't down on his luck was, hey, he's a spokesman for a major oil corporation. He's making a lot of money. as a celebrity spokesperson, except that the company's all corrupt and they're polluting everything. And, so that all falls through and he has to become Wildcat again, pick up the sweaty costume and become Wildcat one more time to help bring down these bad guys. But he's always down on his luck. And like you see here, he's hiding behind a bunch of kids, not wanting to fight Batman. That is not the Wildcat that you can look up to very much. So I always wonder if Haney didn't like him, if Haney liked him a lot and put him in these rough situations, or if maybe Haney thought it was bad how Bill Finger was treated and kind of reflected the creator's later years in the Wildcat stories. I don't know, but I enjoyed the character in his Golden Age appearances that they had in the 100-page Super Spectaculars. He is the top of my favorite characters list. I like him. He is not, Cindy was talking about the bigger hammer. You think of him as a boxer, okay, he's just a big bruiser. But no, he's an undefeated world heavyweight champion after a 20-year career. He is a ring general. And these early appearances didn't give him much credit in being a general as far as tactics, but he would have to be, or else he'd get his lunch handed to him all the time by powered supervillains. Well, this collection has a Batman Wildcat 3-part crossover series that they put out. Chuck Dixon wrote it, and we see kind of a return to what Wildcat should be. He's formidable. He is street tough. Batman, basically, we start off with Killer Croc killing Wildcat in the ring. It's also the first time I saw a metahuman fight club, and you have Wildcat being killed by Killer Croc in front of a live audience. This theme of a superhuman fight club has been repeated several times now, but that's the first time I remember seeing a take on it. And Dixon wrote this very hard-bitten street-level story where they fish the body of Wildcat out of the river and they bring him in, and Commissioner Gordon calls Batman going, I know he was a friend of yours. And they look at the guy and he's like, well, that's not Wildcat. No, it's a kid that Ted Grant was teaching to be a boxer who found his Wildcat uniform and asked him to teach me how to be the new Wildcat. And he's like, no, kid, you're a good boxer. You got heart, but the superhero game is not for everybody and you don't have what it takes. Well, the kid stole the uniform and went out anyway. Got caught. They threw him in the ring in this illegal fight club and Killer Croc kills him. So the whole story in this 3-issue arc is about Wildcat becoming Wildcat again to track down who killed this kid that wanted to be like him. It is a gritty story. Batman follows along. Batman is not the primary character. He's a support character in this, which I love. And we see Wildcat, why he is a force to be reckoned with if you're a street-level criminal in New York or Gotham. It puts him back on the track that he should have been from the 40s, leading to eventually where you can get the JSA issue number 10, Raging Cat, where a man named Ted Grant with a broken arm and an Egyptian cotton bath towel takes on the entire new Injustice Society of America, including a whole bunch of metahumans. And you see in the hands of a good writer what Wildcat can become. Because school's in session. And most of the younger people with powers, they can't hold a candle to Wildcat because he doesn't have the bigger hammer. He's just smart and he's strategic. So it's a clever story. And it kind of reminds me, there was a Captain America story where I'm not sure if it was Hydra or who, somebody broke in, one of the big groups broke in when Captain America was alone in Avengers Mansion because they figured they could take Captain America out. And they find out they were wrong because he is a master combatant and he's got all kinds of years of experience. Somebody with Wildcat, he's been doing this for just short of 100 years, as a street fighter. So those are good. And bats and cats are Halloween. So that works out if you want something that's not too spooky, but a Halloween theme. Then I remembered In fact, I was digging through my game stuff and I found this. I'd forgotten I had it because I consider it was a game supplement for me, as it turned out. But I don't know if any of you have watched Nosferatu on AMC.
Oh, yes.
But
Yeah.
Yes.
Wraith, Welcome to Christmas Land.
Mhm.
This is, don't be afraid of the price, because if you want to go out and get it off the IDW, it's still what it was when they put it out in 2014. It's $29.99, and it is a hardback. It is 7 issues that they put out. It is written by Joe Hill.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it is not just a continuation or a take on what he did. It's him doing it. And I got the feeling at the time, and now I'm almost certain, a lot of the notes that he had for Nosferatu and didn't get to put into the novel went into this, because it tells a lot about the Charlie Manx story, and the aesthetic, the art was actually, it had to be the basis for what they show of Christmas Land in the TV series, which is very, very creepy. But to put it into perspective, Wraith, Welcome to Christmas Land, was a 7-issue TP from IDW. At digital, it cost you $13.99. Hardback, $29.99. I did not pay either of those prices for this. I got it used. It's
He
great.
stole it.
I did not steal it. I did not steal it. But you can find them cheaper than that. So don't let the price put you off. It is written by Joe Hill. Art is by Charles Paul Wilson III. Colors by Jay Photos. Letters by Robbie Robbins. Maturity level, it says right on the label, suggested for mature readers. And that's good, because they use naughty words, and there's all sorts of bloodletting in this.
Hey, Clyde.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Joe Hill has a very famous father.
He does.
He does.
Yeah.
I forget that. I forget to mention it yeah, he didn't use his family name because he wanted to make it on his own, and he did that in comic books very successfully, although it was harder for him in novels.
Yeah.
But Joe's dad is Stephen King.
Yep.
And the apple does not fall far from the tree, I think, as far as his ability to tell a good horror story, be it in comics or, he came up on my radar with Lock and Key.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I was looking for a Christmas book to read one Christmas a few years later, and I did not make the connection of Joe Hill. I saw Nosferatu. Oh, it's a charming Christmas story about this place that's like, Never Never Land for Christmas time. And I'm like, well, great, I'll just get that. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The Nosferatu name didn't give it away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at Charlie Manx's little postcard or the little ad that he had, that's what they used as the blurb. And that sounds wonderful. How delightful this is,
Fooled you.
Fooled me. But it did become one of my favorite modern horror novels. So I didn't connect them at first. I didn't connect the Lock and Key and Nosferatu. But in discovering this new kind of nightmarish, when I read that Hill was doing a new limited series for IDW based on his novel and mentioning his Lock and Key work, that's when it all clicked into place. I'm like, aha, yes, okay. Now, both the novel and the comic series have been turned into live-action versions. Wraith, Welcome to Christmas Land, tells us much more about the undying fiend of Charlie Manx and his demonic Rolls-Royce Wraith than the novel did. And it provides a tour of his inscape, that extra-dimensional hell realm that he called Christmas Land. We don't really get to see it as much as we did in the TV series and stuff in the novel. You get a little taste of it, but not very much. This gives you a much bigger one. And the artwork. This is one of my favorite illustrated horror stories of modern times. Because, again, they did absolutely right in adapting this for the TV show, I think. You have everything from the nightmarish Charlie Manx as he's transporting a child in the back of his Wraith to our little first views of his own children and what they go through in the back of the Wraith as they arrive at Christmas Land for the first time, to Things like seeing the little girl that he's telling his story to, how she has changed there by the time they get there. He feeds on the life force of children that he transports to Christmas Land, where they will live forever and be like lost boys and girls. Well, this tells a standalone story in addition, and it's about a prison break and convicts that end up coming under the influence of Charlie Manx. It is a prequel to the novel, and again, now here's where you can really see the impact that the artwork had on the TV show. This is very much taken,
Oh yeah.
turned into reality for the TV show, and very nicely done in that respect. Here's these wayward adults getting Shanghai to Christmas Land, where the children want to play with them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not going to end well. Here's an idea. You have like the Santa Claus with the CLAWS petting zoo. Oh yeah, that's going to be fun. You have hedgerows if you like the Shining kind of thing. Oh yeah, this hedgerow's even more fun. It's not freezing to death you got to worry about here. And then there's just some great cover art. You have an advent calendar, Charlie Manx style.
Nice.
You got Charlie Manx, the Christmas ornament reflection.
Ooh, that's super creepy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey, Clyde, this is for you. Noel Ferratu?
There you go.
Well played, Dan.
Yeah.
And here's another kind of overview of the park.
Yeah.
So yeah, great art, great story to go along with it. So the premise is that at the height of the Depression, an ambitious young entrepreneur named Charlie Manx married into a family with a bit of money, and he was set on turning it into a fortune by purchasing shares in a new attraction opening in Colorado, a place called Christmas Land. So think of the 1930s, where Santa Claus, Indiana, and its holiday world take steroids, and this is where rich people would go as a resort with rides and all kinds of Yuletide diversions to entertain adults and kids both. It sounded just too good to be true, especially during the Great Depression, and it was, because it was a con game, and Manx lost everything. The used wraith that he had bought as a status symbol of new money resulting from the pipe dream became the focus for all of his anger and misery, and it became his portal to a better world, and one where he could escape to and where he would be ruler. Because in Hill's world, certain people called creatives exist with imaginations which can find short ways. Think of somebody who can turn their imagination into versions of reality. They can create inscapes to realms of their own making, which manifest as real places. Cut off from our reality, but just as real if you happen to wander into one of them. Some are harmless, others are not. The Christmas Land, which manifests based on Manx's tragedy, is a mockery of the season. Starting with his own daughters, he finds when he drives children to this other world. He feeds on their life energies through the car. When they reach Christmas Land, the children are twisted, evil, undead things. Any adults getting into Manx's way, or anybody that he needs to disappear, he transports to Christmas Land to play with the demon spawn and partake of games like Scissors for the Drifter, and rides like the Sleigh Coaster and the Krampus Corkscrew. The children, accumulated over nearly 100 years of Manx's vampirish existence, are legions of nightmare lost boys and lost girls who never age and who long to play with anyone Charlie brings them before they dine, usually on those same visitors. In Wraith, a modern prison transport van is taken over by the inmates in a planned escape. When they crash it during the attempt, prisoners abduct the driver and guard and desperately try to find transportation before authorities close in. One of the convicts is a former Hollywood mogul doing time for abusing his underage stars. Knowing a guy who can help, he calls this fellow, and this guy has transported kids for him before when he needed to get them out of the way, disappeared. And as an associate, this guy has a big old-fashioned touring car which can accommodate all the 3 convicts and the 2 hostages. So he calls Manx, unaware of his true nature, but believing that he could implicate his one-time wheelman in the disappearance of several victimized children while shortening his own sentence. So the convict thinks this gives him leverage on Charlie, while Manx is just happy to take all of them. The escapees and the corrections officers kept as hostages to a safe place. In this case, to Christmas Land. One of the prisoners, Chess, is serving time after attacking a doctor who refused to perform surgery that might have saved his juvenile son's life. Chess is a decent guy who acknowledges that for his crime, he basically broke the doctor's hands, and because he couldn't save his boy, he deserves prison. Chess was not part of the escape plan, he was just on the transport. So he and one of the captured prison guards, Agnes, begin working together to survive the escapees' plans, and then later on, to even thwart Charlie Manx and escape Christmas Land, which is easier said than done in a reality where Manx's face is the all-seeing man in the moon hovering over the snow-packed murder gauntlet of carnivorous reindeer and yeti. And yet, like all monsters, Manx has weaknesses. So Hill writes these characters as morally compromised, some understandably so, others just reprehensible. There's a noir pulse on the approach, which makes this a nice melding to the monochromatic coloration of the Manx flashbacks. And while straight-laced good guys aren't really abundant here, there are some tough, complex characters. Agnes Claiborne, 30-year veteran corrections official, became one of my favorite comic book law enforcement agents ever with this series. Even today, if I was going to be going to hell in a handcart, I would want somebody like her watching my back. The artwork of Charles Paul Wilson III alone is worth delving into this satisfying horror epic, and his style matches Hill's tale in every twisted way. His work is a blood-soaked, perverse, and masterful feast of the macabre. He continually goes over the top and makes you appreciate his excess. Utilizing none of the primary characters from the novel, this story of prison escapees and guards left to their merciless, or to the mercies of the hard-bitten convicts, it's raw, it's hard-bitten, and it's edgy. The convicts, beside the protagonists, are monstrous. They're clever. They're fiendishly amoral. And yet Manx manages to show them what a real monster is capable of. It's impressive, achieving a narrative as dark as sin. The heroes a gritty and gritting gray, and the villains are of the deepest dye. It's the unnerving horror only the best comics of the genre are capable of. If you've read Nosferatu and enjoyed it, or if you like the AMC series based on it, or both, Wraith will not disappoint. It's a standalone story that can be enjoyed all by itself. But if you also have read the book, it'll give you some added depth to the original novel that you can appreciate. With the spooky season wrapping up, and with Christmas season coming, don't you deserve a nightmarishly good read straddling both holidays? Of course you do. The TP came out in 2014, and even as a hardback, I found my copy. I think I paid $12 for it total. So, and it's a good. It has a few pages with a little ruffle, but it reads just fine. You might also check your local library or Hoopla. My rating for Wraith: Welcome to Christmas Land TP is 9 out of 10.
Nice.
All right. Well, and that's how it's done.
One question.
Yes.
And that one question is, why do people forget about Thanksgiving?
Well, that's why you've got the long Halloween, because you know what?
That has Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And I think it's actually the Solomon Grundy story.
Yes.
So there you go.
I have a question as well.
All the way to Christmas. It's like, but there's Thanksgiving in between. What?
That's true. That's true. You're right.
When Clyde was looking for a Christmas book, why didn't he pick up Santa Stein?
I had that.
Eric,
It's not a comic book. That's
shot
why.
fire.
But it should be.
I love the show Nosferatu, and I started reading the book, and then the show came on, and I got sidetracked by the show. I was like, I'm just gonna use that, and then I'll go back and read it, kind of for an extended cut take. And I did not know it was a comic until I was today years old when I found out that it was a comic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and we talked about this before, where Jim Butcher, they invited him to write a a Dresden story as a comic.
Yeah.
And it's a great addition to, I've read all of the Butcher stories, short stories, novels, and this is a fine addition because he wrote it. Same way with Joe Hill with this. It's like I ran a game. The reason I had with my game stuff, I ran a game based on Christmas Land. And it filled in a lot of blanks, of what things really looked like and how business was conducted in Christmas Land. So
yeah, that's really cool. So let's see. Cindy says it's Halliburthankmas season. Well said, Cindy. Well said. And Jeremy Woodring coming in with the hashtag Murder Gauntlet.
Murder Gauntlet. Yes.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, it is. You're not getting some sort of a. Here's the other thing too, though. As hard written as this story is, as noirish as it is, where nobody's really all good or all bad, it has one of the best payoff endings of a horror comic I've ever read.
Oh wow!
Yes,
All right.
yes, but in between there, you're going, how in the world could anybody survive this?
Yeah.
Man. Just a legion of children looking to play scissors for the drifter. It's bad.
Clyde, I keep telling you, stop making me poor. God, man.
That's why the hoopla in the library. I'm going to
have to hunt it down. All right. Well, gentlemen, we have beyond exceeded 2 hours. We are at 2 hours and 20 minutes. What do you say we call that a show?
We're just warming up.
Oh, gosh.
In fact, I was sitting here making a list of the books that I'm like, oh man, I should have done that one. I should have done that one. And listening to all you guys, like Death, the High Cost of Living by Neil Gaiman, Mark Buckingham, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Jim Steranko, Grimjack by John Ostrander, Tim Truman, John Toddleben, Fantastic Four number 51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green Lantern and Green Arrow.
Oh gosh.
Hard Traveling Heroes.
There you go. You know what? I'm going to propose something.
Okay.
Live right now. Okay. Why don't we do this once a month? Does that sound good? We can join forces once a month and we can talk about our favorite trades. How's that?
I think I could probably learn how to read.
Need more back issues than trades.
Yeah, back issues and trades. It's just our favorite previously read comics. How's that?
I'm saving my list.
All right, all right, everybody. So there you go. You heard it here. Tune in November. We'll release the date, and we're gonna start doing some. What did you call this, Clyde? This was perfect. The name.
Oh, yeah. I wrote it down before the show. The desk of a dastardly spectrum.
I love it.
The desk of
the dastardly spectrum. There we go. We'll do that once a month, and we'll talk about this. All right. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to start at the bottom and go around. You're a wonderful bottom. And Brian, go ahead and tell us who you are and where we can find all of your wonderful goodies. and you know what? Hey, you take that however you want to.
Anyway, thank you, Brian, for being the top tonight. Anyway, I'm Brian K. Morris. You can find me on Amazon. You can find me especially at risingtide.pub. We got books. We got all kinds of really cool books. Really want to promote this one. It's a brand new book edited by Jim Beard and Rich Handley. Biff Bam Eow, with a critical analysis of the 1966 Batman series season 2. And also, let's see, I also have a Patreon account, www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. And, of course, the YouTube channel where we are bringing down the level of civil discourse with every broadcast. It's particularly our 1 minute BK Minutes every morning of the week. And I'll be back on tomorrow with Never Mind the Furthermore. And also I'll be appearing this weekend at the HalloCon in Dalton, Georgia. Go to hallocon.com and this is a scoop now. This is a scoop. There may or may not be a toy that I am helping develop.
Ooh.
No, that's creepy.
Talk about your goodies. All right.
Yeah. It's only available in selected shops. Is it?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Well,
it's the
behind
behind the
Hustler
Creative
Club.
One Cup.
Behind the red curtain.
So that's
All right.
pretty much it. Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, for a splendid evening, and particularly to the Dastardly Dingoes for being our hosts tonight. Thank you guys very much, and I'm looking forward to next month.
Thanks for being here, Brian, and hang out backstage for me, okay?
I'll be hanging out.
Yeah. All right.
Right now.
You're like, wait, we went the other way around last time.
I fooled you. Eric, tell us where we can find you.
Everybody knows where to find me. It's easy enough. But go out to Kickstarter and back Memoirs of an Angel. Whether you're at 100 backers and just $46 shy of 3,000. Yep. Go out there and do that. Don't follow me. Don't look for me. Go out there. Go out to Kickstarter.
Well, you beautiful man, you. Thanks for being here.
I hear that a lot, but thank you.
Clyde.
Well, you should go to www.stormgatepress.com and you'll find Pulp Reality 1 and Pulp Reality 2 on sale now. Pulp Reality 3 is coming out very soon. In fact, I believe we are due for a cover reveal in the next week. So I have a B-Man story in each one of them. It started my B-Man series, which is a new pulp story about a fellow that finds all of a sudden he can become any B-movie character of any film ever made, or shown in his theater at least. B-Man is he's a combination of some of your favorite serial heroes, gumshoes, hard-boiled detectives, and he has working on a story arc for all of the Pulp Reality issues. So www.stormgatepress.com will show you how to get this and many other fine publications from Stormgate Press. Or you can find Pulp Reality 1, Pulp Reality 2 on Amazon. You should go before that, though, and back Memoirs of an Angel number 8. You should go find that Kickstarter. Look up Brian Rodman on Facebook. While you're at it, look up Clyde Hall or Radiating Positive Vibes with Author Clyde Hall on Facebook, or you can follow me on Twitter at CJ Hall 1984. And if nothing else, you can come here on Thursday nights for Comic Book Spectrum, part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, and I'll be with my cohorts for our reviews, views, and all kinds of comic book news.
Excellent. Thanks, Clyde.
Thanks for having us.
And good evening, everybody. Just before we leave out today, I want to tell you that I will be on Comic Book Spectrum again this week here. You know, like I said, being a backup quarterback is not an easy job here. But if you want to catch me, you can always catch me on YouTube every Saturday from the Dastardly Small Press Publisher at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. Or if you're interested in our books, like our flagship series here, Amazonia, or the 2021 nominated book for Best Ongoing Series and Best Novel by IndieVote.com, AWF Primetime Saturday Night. You can always go out to the company website here at CGCstudios.com. And just one other thing, forget about Memoirs of an Angel. Harass Brian Rodman for the Nebulizer number 2. You will love it.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, man. You're the
All
best backup quarterback anybody could ever ask. Jeremy, where can we find your stuff, bro? You're muted, Chief.
Brian, I thought you did that.
No, I did not.
You can find all of my stuff in my basement along with me. I kind of keep it all in the same area so that I don't have to walk around as much. I make good videos, and if you want a good video, then I can make one for you. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good grief. All right, Chad, go ahead. Oh
Nice
no, somebody
try.
muted
Nice
you. That's so
try.
sad,
Nice
isn't it?
try, jerk. My name is Chad, and I'm the creator, author, and artist of The Silence. That is book 1. And I just finished the art for book 2. That is literally the last page. So book 2 will be
I feel
out
like you
here.
just flashed us.
I did. Showed you all my goods. Anyhow, yeah, so you can find me at thesilencecomics.com or thesilencearts.com. And I would say, before you go see Brian Rodman, go see Ted Davies with his Grim 101 Kickstarter as well. So, and if you have time, go check out Brian's stuff, whatever, blah, blah.
Oh, whatever. Let's get your face off there. Definitely echoing. Go check out Ted Davies' Kickstarter, Grim 101, Book 2. Book 1 was great. I'm actually going to reread it here soon. And it's an awesome story about a Grim who's in a cemetery. And that feeling that you get when you walk into a cemetery, and it's kind of like that's the Grimm's job to make you feel that way. Well, this particular Grimm doesn't do a very good job of that. And book 1 kind of goes into that, and book 2 is the perspective of a lady that lives on the property of the cemetery. And I can't wait to read it. The artwork is great. Ted does all the watercolor work. Fantastic. Jeremy did the video for the Kickstarter. So I'm going to try and do a little bit better promo than he did for himself and say that you can absolutely go find his video there. You can go to bit.ly / MOA Labyrinth for Memoirs of an Angel, which is a horror fantasy comic book series about a ragtag group of infinite and finite beings who race through time and space to rescue a broken and bitter witch hunter from the clutches of the Dark Kingdom. It is very much like Lord of the Rings meets The Exorcist. Look at all these books. We have 7 issues out right now, and this is for issue 8. And right now is the perfect time to jump on. We got 4 days left. We are going to wrap up volume 2 with issue 10. So the next 3 issues, including issue 8, is going to be intense, big, and extended issues, 32 pages of story. So you don't want to miss out. There are catch-up tiers, both digital and physical, as well as an amazing toy tier done by O-Toys. Damian Waldron does fantastic work. And let's get out of here. Gentlemen, it's been a great show.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I make good videos.
And Cindy says, thanks for the adventures. Thank you for being here, Cindy. Chad rocks. Thanks for the shout out, Rodman. Yeah, whatever. And Eric says, dang it, I didn't shout out Ted, but I did back the hardback. There you go. Redemption. Wonderful. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us here at the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell to be notified whenever we have a new episode pop up. So as always, have fun, be safe, don't do drugs, do comics instead. See you guys later. Have a good night. Thanks for coming by.